open about the fact that you faced a lot of adversity in your life, but you've channeled those moments into your craft. How did you first discover the arts would be a vehicle for you to do so?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I've always found it intriguing, or something that I enjoyed was like connecting with people or kind of reading people or seeing how my action affects somebody else and what the result of this is or that. And then also I think seeing all the things that I've gone through and how it affects other people or what these people go through or this or that. I was like, I always say this, I love my trauma because I really think it's
Yeah.
something that your experiences are allow you to like kind of relate to people and like see or have empathy or just see a different side of things, and so I think just I actually recently kind of just started getting into acting, not too much just getting into it, but really being able to implement things because I didn't have a whole lot going on where I was acting, it was kind of all my goals and my practicing and that sort of thing. um, but yeah, I mean, to be able to implement kind of just like my backstory into a lot of different things is like it's almost a blessing, and I think it's just been a cool experience to be able to do that. I don't know. Yeah.
You're starting off in your career. Has anything surprised you thus far about the industry? What's been the biggest thing that you've learned being a part of it?
Yeah, as much as, I think has surprised me is there's so many people that say, I've been in it for 10 years. It takes so long. It takes this, it takes that, which it does. It really does take putting yourself out there and being different and working on your craft and that sort of thing. But what I've noticed is that the opportunities come very quickly, and if it's going to happen, it's going to happen in a way. I know this sounds kind of crazy, but from what I've learned, I feel it is a lot about your skill. I think so, but a lot of it has to do with like your relationships with people, and then connections that you have. And I feel like that's always been one of my goals, like throughout any set that I've had, was to create good relationships, people like people, because I can see so very easily how it can get skewed of how people can act and how people can kind of um, go through the industry and kind of lose themselves a little bit. People take care of you. You get pampered. You get a lot of great things, but if you don't take it as like a blessing and something to be grateful for, and respect the people that are taking care of you, it can definitely take people down a path of like just kind of losing their character a little bit. So that's just always been important to me. I think that's what I've learned the most, like throughout in the industry right now, is that like once things start coming, you very much so can lose yourself. You can very much so lose like how much respect you have for people and the opportunity that is presented, because it's more than what the average person gets to experience. You get treated differently, and yeah, I think it's almost humbling, like to see, because I think once again, like you could definitely go a route that is kind of just disrespectful to people and not really having a whole lot of compassion and heart for what's going on. So yeah, I guess if that answers your question in any way, like I think my main thing that I've learned is just like this this industry can take you to a place that's different than you might have as your character. So like from the get-go, it's important for me to see that and see clarity to that and see how I act and how I treat people. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's one big thing. Yeah.
Yeah. How have you been able to stay grounded as you've gotten all of these like really exciting projects that have come up? And who or what's had the biggest influence on your career thus far, either personally or professionally?
I have always, loved all different sorts of actors, different genres of movies, different TV series. But I never really studied, types of people and that are acting careers or that are directors or producers or whatever it is. I never really studied that. I think a lot of what it is kind of the mentors in my life that I've looked up to, that a lot of the people in my life have expressed a lot of different sides and been dabbling in a lot of bigger areas of business in a sense. And so I've kind of seen how people hold themselves and how people that are liked hold themselves. And so when I came into this, I had a goal of being myself. And I say this a lot, but I try not to idolize people.
Hmm.
I really care. I respect people's work and their craft, and I really do. But I never wanted to like strive to be somebody else. And I was like, so I guess if I'm gonna say an actor, it was Matthew McConaughey, for sure. I love his mind and how he thinks and how he treats people and how he goes through things. He's very deep. But back to kind of just myself is it's really been my mentors that have been an influence in my life to kind of make me want to go and do what's important to me, and do what I love. It kind of came recently that, I was like, I've always wanted to act. I've always had the passion for it. Always had the passion to direct. That's something that I wanted to do for the longest time. And I don't think I had the confidence for it, to be honest.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't think I had the confidence, and and a lot of the confidence that I had came from me having mentors that built me to see, what's inside of me and what I can give to the world in a sense, and kind of dabble into. And so, yeah, I never really had huge actors as, or people in the industry as people that I looked up to. It's more so the people that have been in my life that know me, that have given me such good advice throughout my life that has kind of brought me to this point, I think.
Was there a pivotal moment when you realized this was the career that you wanted to embark on?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I started off with Babylon. I started doing background work in this movie called Babylon, and then I met a cool casting director. He kind of kept bringing me back for some different feature roles, for that same film. So we shot from August through October for that. And I think what it was feeling the environment and the camaraderie of the people around you. You have this feeling that acting and being this different person or acting out of sort from who you are, what you do is a weird thing to do. And people, you kind of like have that insecurity of like, oh, what is somebody to think of this or that? Or like, what if I don't do this? And that's just how, everybody thinks that way, I think. But when I started doing Babylon, I had so many conversations, met so many different people that were in this industry and that have been doing it, that are so accepting and so true to what they do. And like when somebody has a craft and when somebody can express something of however they do it, it's like respected. And it's kind of expected for you to be a little weird and expected for you to, be yourself and throw things out there that are different. And it's an art. And so I really saw it there that so many people have so many skills, and like, but a lot of it is them being themselves. And so the friends that I made in that first film, like really kind of brought me to a realization of like, man, I want to be able to just be real, expressive and fun and do all these things that are inside of me that are different and weird, because I kind of grew up playing sports. I grew up with friends that were like, I only play sports. Like if you do theater, if you do this, it's like a little bit weird or whatever it was, and it wasn't that I treated anybody like that, but I played sports and that's all I did really. So the people that I was around didn't really accept that as much. So it was kind of belittled to do those things. So it didn't come out of me as much. And so then like kind of moving to LA, I slowly started meeting people that were doing those sort of things. And then, yeah, those friends really just kind of showed me that like, yo, just be yourself, like have fun, like express yourself, like do whatever it is. And um, yeah, that was kind of like my pivotal moment of like, I really feel like I'm being true to what I'm doing, and like that I can express that. And I think a lot of it really has to do with the people, that you're around in this industry. Like that's what they expect to see is like you being fun, yourself, and natural. And um, I think that's what it appealed me to. It was like I could be myself. I could just be myself.
Yeah, and you're in such an exciting time in your career. As you look ahead to the next 5, 10 years, is there a dream role that you would love to play in the future? What are the types of roles that you're attracted to?
Yeah. So growing up, I always watch, I know this sounds funny, but I always watch like Vampire Diaries or
Mhm.
let's see, just like the originals or just kind of little vampire like series like that. And Damon in yeah, Damon specifically in Vampire Diaries. I've always like, man, that character is like he's a hard-nosed guy, but he's also a good-looking guy, but he also has some respect here, but also plays this side and has so many emotions he goes through and backsides of his character that are not seen. And so like I guess the character that I want to be is somebody that um, kind of is seen one way from the face and his voice, but his actions and his body language, has a different story, and his
Mm.
side has a different story. Um, so I think, like I said, with all the, I don't know, like I said, I love my trauma. And so things that are kind of tougher to be and express, like I would love to go through a character that has a lot of emotion, a lot of different sides that come out, or maybe that he even hides that like are his personal things, and he's a different person with his people. Um, that's kind of always been my thing. People have asked me like, what's the specific role you want to play? And I was like, my job is to act, I think, and so my whole goal is to be able to be somebody that can express so many different sides of emotion so clearly. Um, and that's kind of where I sit with it. I was like, I want to be able to be an actor that is like the viewers like feel emotion and see it and truly know that it's like something that's been real, or maybe it relates to somebody that's gone through something. And so, a role that's relatable to people, different but relatable, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Just kind of emotion or happenings that have happened in life. Like that'd be really cool to be able to like, I guess, and I think a lot of people say make a difference, but I don't necessarily know how much of a difference I personally can make. But I think by starting off, like if I'm going to say that I would want to make a difference at all, it would just be by having good character and being real, being a real person, knowing that
Yeah.
things aren't always perfect. Things aren't always a specific thing. And like people should know that like there's no judgment on them in a sense, like whatever goes on is real life. And that's just how I want to be seen. Like I don't ever want to be seen as somebody that's um I guess that like acts like I know who somebody is when I really know I don't, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a
uh
great answer.
yeah.
In addition to acting, you're also a musician. What have you learned from that industry and that part of your craft that you've been able to apply to your on-screen work?
It's really funny you say that. My music has always been sort of a thing that I've kind of kept to myself. There's one song out there I think that if people have kind of seen
Yeah.
or which is one of the first things I've done, and it's kind of fun, but it's very different. But I think my music is like what it's kind of like how they correlate. I think it's expressing emotion and timing and your vocabulary. What I've connected the two the most with, and I think acting has actually helped music with this more. My timing with how I speak and how I say things and how it comes out, and more so the understanding of the process of the story. Because I mean, all songs kind of have a little story in them, and you're trying to get something across that is almost not as direct as acting is. You're kind of doing analogies of this or that, or this, just kind of paint pictures. And so I think the clarity of me having to understand my script and the whole story of what's going on behind the whole plot or a log line of a film or a show, or a scene in general, has given me so much clarity in my music as to how I paint my pictures and how the clarity comes out.
Yeah. And you're talking about that single. Can you tell us about Dirty Love? What was the inspiration behind that song? And then also, how did you decide on that being your kind of musical introduction?
Gosh, that was the first song like I ever made. And so I write a lot. I've always been a writer. So I always want to write my own music, but the inspiration, I actually made it, I think in 2020, maybe the beginning of 2021. And I had written these lyrics in like 2017, and it was about a girl that I was dating. And it was kind of it was kind of rough. We went through a few patches that was like kind of like if this or if that, or I'll love you if that's or if that, if this or if that, and it was something where I cared a lot, and I just felt like it was a little bit of a dirty type of love that was like, you can have this love if that, and like if you give me all this, even if you do this one thing, it's like you're done. It doesn't really matter. Like all of it's disregarded. You could be a great guy and love me all you want, but you mess up one time, like you do this, you do something the wrong sort, like it's kind of over, And this girl I really cared about, I do care for her still. She's a great girl. Never talk crap about her. But yeah, it was really just inspired by my relationship with the gal that I dated for a while. Yeah.
Is the plan to release more music in the future? And then for you, how challenging is it to balance kind of all the different facets of your talent?
Yeah, I have plans to if I'm to be honest, the route that I'm going with music is country music. So it's
Mm,
very different than
yeah.
what I have out right now. And my whole thoughts on Dirty Love is like, gosh, I like it. I went through a phase of being like, I don't really like that song. But then I was like, it's just a period in my life that I get to look back at and be like, this is what I thought about. This is the stuff that I wanted to make. This is what like was coming out. But again, like I said with storytelling, country music has is a
Yeah.
story and has some emotion and feeling. And I grew up on country music. I was born in Omaha, Nebraska, and then moved to Oregon and kind of lived out in the boonies where there's no cell service, none of that, and grew up in the woods doing that country sort of thing. And so, yeah, I'm leaning more towards country music, and I think we'll have some great stuff coming out soon. So that'd be awesome. I think we'll work with a few great people and see what we can do. But I'll definitely keep you updated.
You're also talking about writing and directing in the future. Is there a story that you would love to bring to life? Is there something that you've maybe written already?
Yeah, definitely. I kind of have a story right now about a kid that kind of goes through his whole life and all the different sides of kind of the different sides of his life that he's handling and taking on. And so it shows so many different areas of life that writing kind of is hard to put into something that you can shoot because you get so much detail. So you kind of got to compact it. And so that's where I'm at right now is kind of compacting. But the story that I'd like to, put out there and present it would be a short film to start off with, and it would be about a guy that kind of just goes through life that has a whole lot of family trouble, and also it's kind of cliche, or not cliche, but kind of not original. But there's a guy that kind of goes through some drug problems, some dealing, and has some flashbacks, has come out of it, and kind of gets back into it somehow, and has so much more on the line than he did before. And so for him to kind of be back in this place, he has to make a decision. And he's got to see clearly as to who is in his life, the opportunities he has that he could lose, his children that he has that he could lose, his brothers, and really he's kind of like the sole breadwinner for all of his family. And so if he did that, it'd be unfortunate if he followed through with the things that he's doing. So I think it has a whole lot of contemplation in there, and
Mhm.
it's kind of like a mind thing where this one character is really trying to figure things out. And I think I wanted to be whole lot of action and a whole lot of emotion and love in it. Love is something that's huge to me. I know it sounds funny too, but love in general, I think something that I want to display with my writing or well, in any film that I were to put out or any short or anything that I put out is a sense of love. I think tough love isn't always seen in the right light
Mm.
or displayed in the right light. I think we glorify loving people in all the lovey-dovey ways, which is so correct. Please keep it coming. But I think also a lot of the times when we only hit the lovey-dovey side of things, it comes out as like people don't know how to handle or accept a side of tough love. When somebody says, "Hey, I think this or that," people take it as direct criticism. And I think what also happens is with direct criticism, people that's not necessarily the way to do it. That's kind of how people think they're showing tough love is when they directly criticize you. And so there's a whole display that I would like to bring to life of like real communication and ways to go about things and like little scenes that like are like, that actually might work in my life with a
Yeah.
conversation, something that I have to do. So just real life reality of things um, and emotion and expression and happenings would be amazing to portray.
Yeah. For you as an actor, how do you create this space for yourself when you're trying to dive into kind of those more emotional scenes and then those more grounded dramas? What's that process like for you?
Yeah, I think I'm more of I wouldn't say method, but I think I really try and get into my head and remember exactly what those feelings were like, or what that experiences were like, what the people around me looked like, what their feelings were, how not only did it affect the person that it was happening to, but what the whole like atmosphere was like. And so I try and sit there and really like imagine the whole setting. I imagine everything that's kind of going around with it because there's so many little things that you can pick up. Like I could sit in my own shoes and say, I feel this way, I see this, I see that, she's feeling this way, he's feeling that way, like that I'm talking to. But then there's all these people around that give little hints as to like what's going on, right? And like how it could feel, and like if there was more tension from the story behind, like, or fresh conversation, or if this is. And so yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
You're in an industry that's very, very challenging. During those more difficult times, how are you able to persevere and continue to move forward on this path?
Belief is really important to me. And that's something that I push on all of my friends, and that I want my friends to see that I see of them too. Um, is that there's things inside of you and things that you're doing that you have passion for. Sometimes you have to have like a reality check if that's not the path that you should take, which is understandable. But if you have passion and you see good things for yourself, and it's not perfect at the moment, I think the belief in yourself of what you're doing, why you're doing it, who you are, what you have the potential to do, and what's inside of you should be a thing that you truly believe in. I think a lot of people in this world are conditioned to think that we don't have things,
Mm,
and and even if it's not physically in front of us or like mentally known that we're going to have it, like, and so I think that hinders a lot of people. And so I try and really think that I have everything, and I don't think of it as in an arrogant way. I think the alignment of where my heart's at and how I want to treat people and my character is very important to me. And so that'll all, I think all the belief, my belief kind of just sits in myself and who I am, and I know what I can bring, and I know how I want to love people and how I want to treat people, how I want to love myself. And so in this time of kind of like not of wondering what's coming, it's like, work hard, get better at what you're doing, and you're always going to need to be better. Like if you want bigger things to come, be better, do more things, get
mm,
better at your craft. um, I'm a little bit black and white with those sort of things. Like if I want to be better, I should work harder, I should work on it, I should stay consistent with that. If I want good things to come, if I want to meet with big people or good people that could allow me to have a different opportunity, I should reach out, I should put myself in a place to where I might be able to have that opportunity. And so, I don't have a whole lot of fear. And it's not because I think I'm going to be amazing or I'm going to be this huge person or this or that. It's simply because if this is what I want to do, I'll trust it. I'm very faith oriented.
yeah.
Uh, and so, a lot of my trust comes from God. And that's where I put my trust in too. And so a lot of my wisdom, my knowledge that I am rooted in, that I rely on, comes from that.